Hello, my dear friends. So, friends, in the previous session, we started discussion about a beautiful topic called valuation under customs, in which we covered some good points already, but there are some more interesting points to talk in this brilliant topic called valuation. So, we'll spend some very good time on discussion about what are the balance points we have got in valuation, and let's complete that chapter called valuation under customs. Are we clear, my dear friends? Done. Something very interesting and very important. So without any delay, let's move forward to discussion about the balance points in valuation under customs. Clear, right? Come on. So friends, quickly tell me the answer. What is the answer for rule 3? Rule 3 of baggage rules. Come on. Rule 3 applies to any person coming from any country other than Nepal, Bhutan and Myanmar. And rule 4 will apply if a person is coming from Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar. And what is rule 5, my dear friends? Rule 5 is technically called as jewelry allowance, which will apply only to those passengers who stayed abroad for more than 1 year. And what is the jewelry allowance? 20 grams with a value cap of 50,000, and for lady passenger it is 40 grams with a value cap of 1 lakh. Correct, right? Then what is the answer for rule 6, my dear friends? Rule 6 applies only to those persons who are engaged in profession abroad or there is a transfer of residence. And in that case, my dear friends, from 3 months to 6 months it is 60,000. 6 months to 1 year it is 1 lakh. Minimum 1 year in last 2 years it is 2 lakhs. Then minimum 2 years it becomes 5 lakhs. Correct, right? And exemption is basically given for personal and household articles other than items given in Annexure 1 and Annexure 2, but including items given in Annexure 3. So all these points are done. Then what is Rule 7, my dear friends? Rule 7 deals with currency, which clearly says that baggage rules is silent. We will do as per foreign exchange management regulations. That is Rule 7. Then what is Rule 8, sir? Rule 8 talks about something called unaccompanied baggage. The provisions of baggage will also apply equally to unaccompanied baggage also, provided it comes within 1 month after arrival or within 2 months prior to arrival. So provisions of accompanied baggage will apply even to unaccompanied baggage also. Correct, right? That is the story of Rule 8, sir. Then what is Rule 9? Speak out what is Rule 9. Come on, speak out what is Rule 9. Rule 9 clearly talks about application of these rules to members of crew, where it clearly says that when we talk about crew members, what is the answer there? In case of members of crew, the concept is very simple, that for members of crew, they also get the exemption only at the time of final payoff on termination of engagement. But every time also they keep getting exemption of 1,500, and 1,500 will apply only to some items like chocolates, cheese, cosmetics and other petty gift items up to a value of 1,500. Clear, right? Good. So these are the interesting points what we learned in this beautiful chapter called baggage, my dear friends. Clear, right? Then tell me what is the answer in classification topic I am talking, my dear friends. Come on. In classification under customs, can you please tell me what is Rule 1, my dear friends? Rule 1 clearly says titles are for reference only. Classification should be done as per the terms of heading and subheading. Of course, we'll make use of section notes and chapter notes, but classification needs to be done as per the terms of heading and subheading. No doubt about it. Rule 2A says, come on, what does Rule 2A say? Rule 2A says main product also covers something called semi-finished or unassembled. Rule 2A says main product also covers semi-finished or unassembled, my dear friends. Then what is the answer for 2B? 2B says main product also covers mixture or combination with another product. For example, steel contains slight amount of aluminium, but still it is regarded as steel only. Correct, right? One more example, coffee mixed with chicory is still regarded as coffee only. Then, what does Rule 3 talk about, my dear friends? Come on, Rule 3, in that, my dear friends, we have got 3A, 3B, 3C. So tell me, friends, what is the answer for 3A? 3A clearly says, what, my dear friends, specific heading is preferred over general heading. And 3B says classification should be done as per essential character. And 3C says follow something called later the better. So if a particular product is classifiable under two headings, then we'll classify that under that heading whichever occurs last, whichever occurs later. Then What is rule 4, my dear friends? Rule 4 says follow something called akin rule, where it says we will classify wherever it is most close or similar, and that rule we apply only when a product is not classifiable under any of the heading. Then we'll apply rule 4 and classify under wherever it is most close. Then rule 5, my dear friends, packing, covers and cases customized for the product to be classified along with the product. However, this rule will not apply if packing is for repetitive use. Classic example we gave, gas cylinder cannot be classified along with gas. Last rule, rule 6, goods to be compared at same level, that is subheading of one heading. Subheading of one heading cannot be compared with subheading of another heading. Correct, right? That's all. That is an interesting point in what, my dear friends? Rule 6. We are done with that, my dear friends. Makes sense, right? Good. Then, sir, after all this, we completed chapter called duty drawback. We also completed small topics like refunds. We also completed types of duty. Some good element of customs is over. Hardly some 2-3 topics are left now. In next 3-4 sessions, we'll wind up our syllabus. Don't worry. Clear? Chalo. Now, in valuation under customs, my dear friends, already something important we learned, especially the story of ER and DR table. ER and DR is nothing but exchange rate and duty rate. Come on, friends. Exchange rate, what is the answer, sir? We have got a section called section 14, which deals with the concept of exchange rate, which clearly says in case of imports, we will look at something called date of filing bill of entry. In case of imports, it is date of filing bill of entry. And the bill of entry could be bill of entry for home consumption, or it could be bill of entry for warehousing, whatever it is. We are talking about something called bill of entry. Correct, right? And exports, what is the answer? Date of filing shipping bill or bill of export. And shipping bill is something which is used in case of vessel or aircraft, and bill of export is in case of vehicle, my dear friends. Shipping bill is in case of vessel or aircraft, and bill of export is in case of vehicle. Clear, right? Good. Then, my dear friends, in duty rate, we have got something called section 15 and section 16. 15 talks about imports, 16 talks about exports. Now, what is the answer for imports, my dear friends? Imports, very clearly, if it is imports by aircraft or vehicle, what is the answer, my dear friends? Date of filing bill of entry for home consumption or date of arrival. One more time I repeat, date of filing bill of entry for home consumption or arrival, whichever is later. But when I talk about vessel, the answer is date of filing bill of entry for home consumption or entry inwards, whichever is later. Whichever is later only, in that no doubt. Then section 16 talks about something called exports. And in exports, what is the answer, my dear friends? In exports, the answer is very clearly the date when PO has granted clearance. One more time I repeat, section 16 clearly says the date when PO has granted clearance. PO is nothing but proper officer when he has granted clearance. And how does he grant clearance, my dear friends? He will pass an order called LEO, which stands for lead export order. That is order through which proper officer grants clearance, my dear friends. Clear, right? So let me repeat one more time. Valuation topic is very important and it's coming in exam every time. So no games at all. I want your utmost concentration and utmost focus. In that, no compromise at all. Clear? Come on, please concentrate. Next discussion, friends. Come on, listen first, then we'll write also. For the purpose of valuation, there are customs valuation rules 2007, my dear friends. Come on, sir. I repeat one more time. For the purpose of valuation, what we have, my dear friends, there are customs valuation rules 2007. So in 2007, government has given valuation rules for the purpose of valuation. And let me tell you very clearly, my dear friends, in that rules, we have got Rule 3, Rule 4, Rule 5, Rule 6, Rule 7, Rule 8, Rule 9, Rule 10, and Rule 11, Rule 12 also for that matter. So many rules are there. So my dear friends, please observe that already we learned some good number of rules in baggage and we learned some good number of rules even in classification. Now we have got some more interesting rules even under valuation. Clear, right? And these rules will take little time on which we need to focus and spend some time. Clear, right? Now listen. The first interesting point, rule 3 says value shall be transaction value. Transaction value means the value at which importer imported the goods from exporter. Transaction value is nothing but the value at which importer imported the goods from exporter. Now rule 3 clearly says value shall be transaction value. That is price paid or payable when exporter and importer are not related, and related person's definition is almost same like our GST, that is I am controlling you, you are controlling me, we both are controlled by third person, or we both are together controlling a third person. Like that we discuss some points, right? Exactly, same points are there. Come on. So rule 3 says value shall be transaction value, that is price paid or payable when exporter and importer are not related, and price is sole consideration. Come on my dear friends, what a beautiful language we have. So rule 3 clearly says value shall always be what value, sir? Transaction value. Undoubtedly value is always transaction value, that is price paid or payable when exporter and importer are not related. When what my dear friends? Exporter and importer are not related. Exporter importer are not related at all, and the price is what consideration? Sole consideration. That means price is the only consideration. Clear my dear friends? Now interesting point is that for transaction value under rule 3, adjustments are made as per rule 10. So net effect, what you have to understand is that rule 3 talks about something called value shall always mean transaction value. That means at what value importer is importing the goods, what value importer is importing the goods from the exporter, that is technically called as transaction value. And that's what we'll follow my dear friends. So law clearly told value shall always mean transaction value, which is nothing but price paid or payable when exporter and importer are what my dear friends? Not related. Exporter importer are not related, and the price is what my dear friends? Sole consideration. Clear, right? And one point you need to observe very clearly is that for transaction value under rule 3, for transaction value under what my dear friends? Rule 3, adjustments are to be made as per rule 10. That clearly means that in rule 10 law prescribes some good amount of adjustments to be made in order to arrive at proper transaction value. So like in GST we learned something called section 15, value of supply, where I told you 15.1, which clearly says value shall always mean transaction value, which refers to price paid or payable when supplier and recipient are not related and the price is sole consideration. And 15.2 was talking about inclusions to transaction value. 15.3 was talking about exclusions from transaction value. But here we are talking about rule 3 says transaction value is perfect, but adjustments are made as per rule 10. Adjustments are made as per what, sir? Rule 10. That is an interesting point you have to understand here. So makes sense, right? Everybody please speak out. So one more time I repeat my dear friends. So rule 3 clearly says value shall always be transaction value, which refers to price paid or payable when exporter and importer are not related and the price is sole consideration. And for that transaction value, we always make adjustments as per rule 10. So in rule 10, we have got some good points to discuss what all we will add. Law did not tell what all we will reduce, but they only told what all we will add. Some things are there, what we will exclude, that also I will talk with you, don't worry. Clear? Come on, I want this in your book first. Take this, come on. So first point, for the purpose of valuation, there are customs valuation rules 2007. And we are going to talk about rule 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The only difference you will find in GST definition of transaction value and customs definition of transaction value is that in GST they use the word supplier and recipient are not related, but here they use the word exporter and importer are not related. That is the only difference what you will find. Other things remain constant. Other things remain constant, no doubt about it. An interesting point to be noted is that for transaction value under rule 3, adjustments are made as per what, my dear friends? Rule 10. That is interesting and important. Can I proceed? Done. So friends, now listen. So let's say there is one person called Mr. Mike, our classic example, and Mike is an exporter who is in US. And there is one person called Mr. Shivateja who is in India and who is basically the importer. Now I imported the goods at a value of 10 lakhs. Now high possibility that, first of all, this 10 lakhs is nothing but transaction value. Now high possibility that officer might not be convinced with the transaction value. That is because he has an opinion or doubt that intentionally, voluntarily, Shivateja has undervalued the price so as to escape the customs duty. So ultimately, my dear friends, we are going to pay customs duty on transaction value only. Obviously, right? We are going to pay customs duty on the value of imports. Now, when we are going to pay customs duty on value of imports, obviously there is a high possibility that importer might undervalue the valuation. Correct, right? Since the customs duty is paid on valuation, my dear friends, there is always a high possibility that importer might do undervaluation. That is where practically so many times officer rejects the transaction value, telling that this value is not acceptable for us. And what grounds they will tell? They will tell that same kind of goods somebody is importing at a different value and you only imported recently at a different value. So like that in various cases they reject, my dear friends. But if they reject, they should prove why they are rejecting. Ultimately, if department is rejecting transaction value, the burden of proof is on the department to prove that why the transaction value is rejected. I repeat one more time, friends. If the transaction value is rejected, one more time I repeat, if the transaction value is rejected, then the burden of proof is on the department to prove that why the transaction value is rejected. Such a great point, my dear friends. So let me tell you one wonderful example, friends, which practically I myself have seen. So one of my friend is there, of course, my client also. What he has done is he imported copper from foreign country. He imported what, my dear friends? Copper from foreign country. Actually, it was basically raw copper, that is original copper. They actually call it as virgin copper. Original raw copper he imported, but he imported that copper in the name of scrap copper. At lower value he declared. Actually the value of copper was around 6 lakh rupees, but he declared only at 1 lakh, telling that it is not raw copper, it is scrap copper. It is a scrap what he imported. And the rate of duty is different for raw copper, rate of duty is different for scrap copper. Now officer at the time of inspection during unloading, he got a doubt that this copper doesn't look like scrap copper at all. So he has taken some sample out of it and started doing testing. and then realized that it is not raw copper, it is not scrap copper, it is raw copper. And bluntly he told, this transaction value, whatever we declare, whatever you declared, we are rejecting that transaction value. Because first point, the good what you declared itself is wrong. Parameters are wrong. Second point is very clear that valuation is undervalued. Because raw copper cannot come at that value. You declare that value saying it is scrap copper, but this is not a scrap copper, this is a raw copper. Correct, right? Sir, people try to find various alternative routes to play games to escape the customs duty, because they always feel this customs duty as a pain. That's what people always feel. They feel this customs duty as a pain. But let me tell you very clearly, customs duty, whether it is a pain or not a pain, ultimately it's important that we have to pay. And importers try to find various routes to escape, because customs duty is very much high. And government is keeping it high for a simple reason. They are saying that when you are importing, Indian market is suffering. Locally, local market you are hitting. Foreign currency is going outside. So we obviously try to discourage imports. You tell exports, you tell what you want, we'll give, because government of India actively encourages exports. And whereas they actively discourage imports, no doubt about it. Clear, right? So my dear friends, here let me tell you an interesting point. Rule 11 talks about something called declaration by importer. That means, in my example, who is importer? Shivateja. So Shivateja will declare saying that, sir, I imported so and so goods, and the value of that goods is 10 lakhs. Like that, I make a declaration of the true and correct statement. Otherwise, I'll just basically give a statement of truth and accuracy of that statement, and I'll sign a statement saying that this is true and correct. Now, Rule 12 clearly says PO may reject. There is a high possibility that proper officer may reject the transaction value, and I clearly told you why he will reject. Basically because you undervalue the goods, at same time somebody is imported higher value, or you are changing the, what my dear friends, characteristics or the nature of that. Clear, right? So like this, there is a possibility where PO may reject, sir. Come on. So without any delay, guys, friends, this is your material, and in your material I am looking at page number 107. Okay, in page number 107, sir, whenever you are watching the video, watching the lecture, please make sure that your book is with you, either in soft copy form or hard copy form, but the book should be with you. Come on. So Rule 11 is talking about something called declaration to be furnished by importer. Come on, friends, what is Rule 11 talking about? Declaration to be furnished by importer. See that, come on. Importer or his agent. Importer or his agent shall furnish. What will furnish? A declaration. Importer or his agent shall furnish a declaration disclosing full and accurate details. That is what I told. Full and accurate details relating to value of the imported goods and any other statement, information or document as considered necessary by the proper officer for determination of value of imported goods under these rules. The said statement, information or document includes an invoice of the manufacturer or producer of the imported goods, where the goods are imported from or through a person other than manufacturer or producer. Then next point. Customs officer has the power to satisfy himself. That means he must be convinced. He must be convinced with what? The truth or accuracy of any statement, information, documents or declaration presented for valuation purpose. Provisions of Customs Act relating to, this is a dangerous point, see that, provisions of Customs Act relating to confiscation, that means they'll take away the goods, penalty and prosecution. Prosecution means what? They'll put in jail, shall apply to the cases where wrong declaration, information, statement or documents are furnished under these rules. In fact, my friend who was my client, when he brought that copper like that, the officer caught and asked him to pay penalty. We paid also. Of course, he was not put in jail because quantum was not so high, but he was asked to pay penalty. Clear? None. Rule 12, my dear friends, rejection of declared value by whom, sir? Customs officer. That's what I told. Customs officer can declare, can reject. Where PO has, I'll highlight one important word, reason to doubt. This is important line. Where the PO has reason to doubt the truth or accuracy of the value declared in relation to any imported goods, he may ask the importer of such goods to furnish further information, including documents or other evidence. Come on friends, I repeat one more time, please see that language. Where PO has, what my dear friends? Where PO has reason to doubt the truth or accuracy of the value declared in relation to any imported goods, he may ask the importer of such goods to furnish further information, including documents or other evidence. So PO can ask more details and information. Next, if after receiving such further information or in the absence of response of such importer, PO still has reasonable doubt about the truth or accuracy of the value so declared, it shall be deemed that value of such imported goods cannot be determined under Rule 3.1. Rule 3 means what? Transaction value. That means net effect, what is happening is that PO is rejecting the transaction value. Accordingly, the highlighted point is that provisions of Rule 12 overrides the provisions of Rule 3. Of course, provisions of Rule 12 overrides the provisions of Rule 3, my dear friends. Next point. On importer's request, PO shall intimate the importer in writing the grounds. Grounds means the reasons for doubting the truth or accuracy of the value declared in relation to goods imported by the importer, and provide a reasonable opportunity of being heard before taking a final decision. And generally, we call this as principle of natural justice. Clear, right? Good. Next, reasons for which doubt may be arised. Why will doubt come? I gave a situation there, somebody imported higher value, or there is something wrong in the parameters. See there? PO shall have power to raise the doubts on the truth or accuracy of the declared value on certain reasons, my dear friends. And interesting reasons you will find. What is that? Come on, please see. First one, significantly higher value. Significantly what, my dear friends? Higher value at which identical or similar goods are imported at or about the same time. At or about the same time. The two in what quantity? Comparable quantity. Obviously, sir, if you are importing 100 quantity, somebody is importing 10,000 quantity. If you are importing 100 quantity, somebody is importing 10,000 quantity. You can't compare the price. Because when the quantum is more, the bulk is there, discount will be there more. Correct, right? See now, at or about the same time in comparable quantities, in comparable commercial transaction. That means, if you are a wholesaler, compare the price with other wholesaler only. If you compare the wholesale price with retail price, that's not correct. Obviously not correct. When you go to a bigger supermarket, you get higher discount slightly. That's because he purchased in a bulk and he acts as wholesalers. Next point. Sale involves what, my dear friends? Abnormal discount. So normally discount 10%, 20%, understandable. 90% discount is there. What is that nonsense? So he might reject. You have to convince him why that abnormal discount is there. Sale involves an abnormal discount or abnormal reduction from ordinary quantitative price. In market, people give 10%, 20%, 30%, but in your case, it is 90% discount. Why? Next, sale involves special discounts. Sale involves what, my dear friends? Special discounts limited to exclusive agents. Sale involves special discount limited to what, my dear friends? Exclusive agents. Why that special discount is given? Next point. Misdeclaration of goods in parameters. Example, copper, scrap copper, yeah, such as description, quantity, country of origin, year of manufacture or production. You are declaring the wrong parameters. Then non-declaration of parameters such as brand, grade, specification that have relevance to value. Obviously, my dear friends, based on brand and grade, the value will change. Higher brand definitely has higher value. Higher grade will have higher value. Next, last one, crazy point, fraudulent or manipulated documents. Sir, this point did not come in exam so far, but somewhere I have a gut feeling, that this should come in the exam, because it's very interesting and important, because which clearly talks about when PO can raise issue or doubts with regard to the truth or accuracy. Number one, significantly higher value of goods imported at same time. Sale involves abnormal discount, or sale involves special discount limited to exclusive agent, or misdeclaration of parameters such as description, quantity, country of origin, year of manufacture. Then non-declaration of parameters such as brand, grade, specification. Finally, fraudulent or manipulated documents. Now in this context, one very, very, very important case law you should know, my dear friends. The case law of Supreme Court in the case of JD Orgochem Limited. This case law was very nice actually. Why very nice? Because interesting point, what happened in this case was, if department says the value is not correct, it is a responsibility of department to prove that the value is not correct. See now, the assessee imported some goods at 13.2 per kg. The same were earlier imported by assessee at 18.7 per kg. Possible, the values might come down, international price might come down, so we imported lesser value. So what? Now see, since assessee was the only importer of such goods, customs authorities treating the earlier imports as contemporaneous imports enhanced the value to 18.7 per kg. Assessee submitted that due to lesser demand in what, my dear friends? International market, the prices were declining. Since the demand in international market was less, the prices were coming down. The evidence showing that prices were further declining were also submitted. So very clearly there is evidence that prices were coming down. Clear, right? Come on, sit down. Department contended that since the assessee had failed to prove downward trend in international prices, the assessee arguments were not acceptable. Now see what decision they gave by Supreme Court. What a wonderful ruling they gave, sir. The burden to prove that transaction value is not genuine, that means transaction value is not correct, is on department, my dear friends. Very, very interesting and fantastic statement. The burden to prove that transaction value is not genuine or not correct is always on the department. Clear, right? Next line. The department must produce evidence. Who must produce evidence? Come on. Department must produce evidence of contemporaneous imports to reject invoice or transaction value. So departments must produce evidence. Who must produce? Department must produce evidence to project the invoice or transaction value. And contemporaneous imports means what? Somebody, what value they are importing? Contemporaneous imports have to be imports made by other persons. The imports made earlier by the importer cannot be regarded as contemporaneous imports. So to call it as contemporaneous imports, we will look at something called value at which imports are made by other person, not by this person only. The assessee's submission that international prices have declined was to be considered. Since the department failed to produce evidence, who must produce, sir? Department failed to produce evidence, transaction value was acceptable. The Supreme Court ruling is very popular practically also because we use this ruling very much, saying that if you reject transaction value, it is your responsibility to prove why you have rejected for transaction value. So it is the utmost responsibility of the department to prove that the transaction value is not genuine or the transaction value is not correct. Clear, right? Very, very interesting and extremely important, friends. No doubt about it. That is the end of story for Rule 11 and Rule 12. So friends, if you observe carefully, what is the concept, my dear friends? Rule 3 clearly says that valuation shall always mean transaction value, which refers to what? Price paid or payable when exporter and importer are not related and the price is the sole consideration. Correct, right? But as I clearly told you, my dear friends, there is a high possibility that proper officer may reject the transaction value. On what reasons he might reject, that also I told you, that there are contemporaneous imports, that is imports made by some other person at significantly higher value, or the sale involves abnormal discount, or the sale involves special discounts limited to certain persons. Correct, right? So these kind of scenarios, there is a high possibility that proper officer may reject the transaction value. And I clearly told you that Rule 11 says declaration by importer. Whenever there is an importer who is importing the goods, he must submit full and accurate details of the imports what he has done, along with the valuation and everything. All the details should be submitted. Correct, right? So friends, if you observe carefully, out of the rules what I wrote here, Rule 3 clearly says that value shall mean what value? Transaction value, for which adjustments are done as per Rule 10. And Rule 11 talks about something called what, my dear friends? Declaration by importer. That importer will declare the value stating that my import value is so and so value. But there is a high possibility that proper officer may reject the transaction value, and that point is given by Rule 12. So Rule 12 says PO may reject the transaction value. Come on, take this example. Take this example, please. Come on. I'm sure you got the difference between Rule 11 and Rule 12. Rule 11 only says declaration by importer, where importer will declare the value stating that I imported the goods at a value of 10 lakh rupees. But if there is a misdeclaration of parameters, fraudulent or manipulated documents, sale involves abnormal discount, and the officer, the proper officer is not convinced with the full and accurate details submitted by the importer, then proper officer can reject the transaction value, and that power is given by Rule 12. Rule 11 says declaration by importer, and Rule 12 says proper officer may reject. Take it, come on. Take the small diagram there. Make sense, right? Can I proceed? Right, let's proceed. So friends, now the big question what comes in our brain is all about what will happen now when proper officer rejects. And of course, I clearly told you the case law of Supreme Court in the case of JD Orgochem, where I clearly explained to you that whenever proper officer wants to reject, it is his responsibility, it is his duty to prove that the transaction value is not genuine. So if the officer wants to reject the transaction value, or he wants to say that the transaction value is not genuine, then it is a responsibility of the proper officer to prove that the transaction value is not genuine. Otherwise, the burden of proof is on the department. The burden of proof is on whom, my dear friends? The burden of proof is always on the department. That's a very interesting and wonderful case law, my dear friends. No doubt about it. Clear, right? Good. Come on. Let's look at next. So friends, now please concentrate. Rule 3 clearly says, for value, as I just told you, my dear friends, that value shall be transaction value. I just told this point to you that as per rule 3, value shall be what value? Transaction value. And for this transaction value, adjustments are prescribed by, adjustments are given by rule 10. So rule 3 says value is transaction value, and for that transaction value, adjustments are given by rule 10. Now I'll discuss about rule 10 slightly later, but the question what I'll discuss with you is very clearly, if the transaction value is rejected, I repeat one more time, if the transaction value is what, my dear friends? Rejected, then how? That is the question. Correct, right? Sir, what are the adjustments we have to do in transaction value? That I'll talk with you at the end. Last discussion I'll do that. Don't worry, that we'll talk slightly later. But first my focus one with you is very clearly, if the transaction value is rejected, then how? Then law told, follow something called rule 4, where rule 4 says, look at the transaction value of identical goods. Transaction value of what, my dear friends? Identical goods. It is something like we are looking at what value some other person is selling, some other person is importing, I mean to say. Now listen friends, let's say our classic exporter, the same person, Mr. Mike, who is of US, he is an exporter. And there is one person, Mr. Ram, who is an importer, and he imported at a value of 10 lakh rupees. Now the same identical goods, my dear friends, the same identical goods, my dear friends, what has happened is that there is one person called Mr. Mark, who is also in US, who is an exporter, and he exported to Mr. Krishna, and Krishna is a importer. And the interesting point is that identical goods are being brought at a value of 16 lakh rupees. That means very clearly, my dear friends, if you observe what value our assessee imported, Ram is basically the assessee. Let's say Ram is the assessee. Come on, tell me, my dear friends, at what value assessee imported? Assessee imported a value of 10 lakhs, and the officer is telling that 10 lakhs value is to be rejected, maybe because of misdeclaration of parameters or fraudulent documents or abnormal discount or whatever reason it is, that the transaction value has been rejected. Now if the transaction value is rejected, I repeat one more time, if the transaction value is rejected, now what will happen then? Then what, how will you do valuation? Then law told follow something called rule 4, which says look at the transaction value of identical goods. Identical means what? Absolutely same. Sir, there is a small difference between identical goods and similar goods. Similar means almost the same but not exactly same. Identical means exactly the same. And in my language, I always keep saying laptop is identical. Laptop is identical. But whereas laptop and computer are similar. So laptop, computer, both of them performs equally same functions, but they are not identical. But when it comes to laptop and laptop, they are definitely identical, my dear friends. So it is very important to have a clarity of thought on difference between what is identical goods and what is similar goods. And we are now talking about rule 4, identical goods. In fact, we also have got one rule called rule 5, which says look at similar goods also. That also we'll talk, don't worry. Clear? Come on. So rule 4 says what's a transaction value of identical goods. Now the interesting point which I'll write here is that in order to compare, they must be at in order to compare, they must be at same commercial level. In order to compare, they must be at what, my dear friends? Same commercial level. Now, what is the meaning of this word called same commercial level? That is, if Ram is a wholesaler, but Krishna is a retailer, how can you compare a wholesaler price with retail price? You can't do that. So what law told, my dear friends? In order to compare, they must be at what level, my dear friends? Same commercial level. They must definitely be at same commercial level. And substantially same quantities. Come on friends, what is the language we are using, sir? In order to compare, they must be at same commercial level. They must be at what level? Same commercial level and substantially same quantity. Now when I say substantially same quantity, the quantity is almost same. Now if Ram is importing 1000 quantity, if Ram is importing 1000 quantity and Krishna is importing 100 quantity, Ram quantity is 1000, Krishna quantity is 100. If you compare them, does it make sense, my dear friends? 100% answer is no, because in order to compare, they must definitely be comparable. Correct, right? Obviously, my dear friends, you cannot compare a life of CS student with other person. Our life is different. Our journey is different. Other person's journey is different. Correct, right? Come on. So what law told, sir? In order to compare, they must be at same commercial level and substantially same quantity. Now a question here. Listen please. If Ram is importing, so please listen, if Ram is importing, let's say 1000 quantity, if Ram is importing, let's say how much, my dear friends? 1000 quantity, and Krishna is importing 600 quantity. If Ram is importing what, my dear friends? 1000 quantity. I repeat one more time, kindly please listen. If Ram is importing 1000 quantity and Krishna is importing how much, my dear friends? 600 quantity. Ram imported 1000, Krishna imported 600. Now is it substantially same quantity? That is my question. Is it what, my dear friends? Substantially same quantity. Is it substantially same quantity? Come on friends, please see that. If Ram is importing how much quantity? 1000 quantity and Krishna is importing 600 quantity. Now my question to you, is it substantially same quantity? 100% answer is yes, my dear friends. No doubt about it. Because what the point you have to understand is that law never defined what is the meaning of substantially same quantity. But what we always say is that if it is more than 50% of what we are importing, that means what we are comparing with. If our quantity is 1000, if the other person's quantity is more than 500, then we say that it is comparable. That is the interpretation what we have drawn. Correct, right? That interpretation has come based on various judgments. And that's what we follow also. That is the reason being very clear that in law they did not define what is the meaning of substantially same quantity. We say that generally our understanding and also for ICA exam solving purpose, what we always say is that if it is more than half, we call it as substantially same quantity. Clear, right? Come on, see now. Very interesting point I'll discuss with you. Kindly please listen. What is the interesting point? Listen. So let's say Mr. Ram imported 1000 quantity. How much quantity, my dear friends? 1000 quantity at 800 per piece. At what value? 800 per piece. But same identical goods, my dear friends. I repeat one more time. Same identical goods. Krishna imported 600 quantity. Krishna imported how much quantity, my dear friends? Krishna imported 600 quantity at 900 per piece. Next, Mr. X imported 900 quantity at 870 per piece. 870 per piece. Come on, my dear friends, getting clarity, sir. 870 per piece. Next, Mr. Y imported 1200 quantity at 840 per piece. Then Mr. Z imported 300 quantity. What quantity? 300 quantity at a value of 940 per piece. So like this, my dear friends, there are various identical goods which are imported by different persons. That means, number one, identical, we have got first person, Krishna imported 600 quantity at 900 per piece. Identical second person, Mr. X imported 900 quantity at 870 per piece. Number 3, Mr. Y imported 1200 quantity at 840 per piece. Next, number 4, Mr. Z imported 300 quantity at 940 per piece. Now, what is the transaction value of identical goods you will take into picture? That is a question. So, what they told is that, first point, if more than one transaction value of identical goods is found. Come on, friends, an interesting language. If more than one transaction value, if what value, friends? If more than one transaction value of identical goods is found. Now, if you see very clearly, first of all, first case, 600 quantity, is it comparable? 100% it is comparable. 900 quantity, my dear friends, is it comparable? 100% answer is yes. 1200 quantity, is it comparable? Answer is yes. But last case, it is 300 quantity, so this is not. So this is not comparable at all. So this is not comparable at all. So we'll completely ignore the fourth one because it is not comparable. Because, my dear friends, I'll tell one standard dialogue and a standard statement. In order to compare, they must definitely be comparable. I repeat one more time. In order to compare, they must be comparable, friends. If they are not comparable, then there is no question of comparison. Clear, right? Come on, friends. What is the language I just told, my dear friends? In order to compare, in order to what, sir? Compare, they must definitely be comparable. And if they are not comparable, there is no question of, then there is no question of comparison. See now here. So if more than one transaction of identical goods is found, if more than one transaction of identical goods is found, then lowest of such value, some benefit they gave, lowest of such value is considered. That means, what are the figures we have got? 900 per piece, 870 per piece, 840 per piece. So what value will take into account, my dear friends? 900 will not take, 870 will not take, 840 will take into account. So what we are trying to do is, first of all, we are checking what are all the identical goods who are imported. Who are imported identical goods. Then who are all not comparable, ignore them, throw them outside. Example, Mr. Z, he is not comparable because our quantity is 1000, his quantity is 300. Then in what way it is comparable quantity? So we'll throw them aside. Now what is the balance left out? First 1, 2, 3 left out. Now first person price is 900, second person price is 870, third person price is 840. So what is the answer, friends? Answer is nothing but 840. In exam, what student wrote is that since 900 quantity is more close, since 900 quantity is more close to 1000, the answer is 870. I repeat one more time. Student wrote since 900 quantity is more close to 1000, the answer is 870. But that's nonsense. Answer is very clearly 840, my dear friends. So what we need to observe and take into account is that whenever we are trying to work out what is the transaction of identical goods, what we basically check is only that we check whether they are comparable or not. If they are comparable, then we will take all those prices. Out of all those prices, whatever is the lowest price, that will be considered. We are not going to consider wherever quantity is more close. We are not going to consider wherever quantity is more close. We are going to consider out of that comparable, whatever is the least value, that becomes transaction value of identical goods. Very, very important. So basically what we are trying to do is that first one, second one, third one, that is Krishna, Mr. X, Mr. Y. Those three are comparable. So out of those three prices, whichever price is lowest, that becomes my transaction value of identical goods. That's all. Are we getting clarity, guys? Come on, please speak out. Very, very interesting and wonderful concept, my dear friends. No doubt about it. Extremely important. I want you to write this now. Something super duper important, which definitely should come in your notes, which deals with the concept of Rule 4. And the story is not yet over. We still have so many points to talk. Let me highlight the important box. So what is that important box I highlighted, friends? In order to compare, they must be at what, my dear friends? Same commercial level, obviously. So in order to compare, they must definitely be at same commercial level. And that too, substantially what quantity, friends? Same quantity. Only then we'll compare, my dear friends. That's where I told one standard stereotype dialogue. That is, in order to compare, they must definitely be comparable. If they are not comparable, then there is no question of comparison. So it's very important that they must definitely be comparable. So rule 4 says what, sir? Look at the transaction value of what goods, my dear friends? Identical goods. Very important. Can I scroll? Yes, friends, come on. Done, I'll proceed then. This concept is very, 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 very important. Where if you get more than one transaction value of identical goods, then lowest of such value is considered. That point is very wonderful point actually. So in this example, you have to observe that last one, Mr. Z, is not comparable at all because it is not substantially same quantity. His quantity is 300, our quantity is 1000. So in what way they are comparable? If they are not comparable, then gone. We will not take them into account. What we will take into account is only those which are comparable. If they are not comparable, then there is no question of comparison. Come on, friends, take it, finish off. Very important. This is the story of which, my dear friends? This is the story of Rule 4, which says follow something called look at the transaction value of identical goods. Identical goods is something which is exactly the same, friends, in all characteristics. Next, moving forward, we're talking about something called Rule 5, which says if the transaction value of, if what, my dear friends? Transaction value of, come on, please look at that. If transaction value of identical goods, if the transaction value of identical goods is not found, if the transaction value of identical goods is not found, then the transaction value of similar goods is considered. Come on, my dear friends, very interesting and important language. What is the language, friends? Come on. If the transaction value of identical goods is not found, if what is not found? Transaction of identical goods is not found, then we'll follow something called transaction value of similar goods. Similar goods means not exactly the same, but almost the same, which are alike. Which are not exactly the same, which are alike. For example, if you look at the phones, if you want to compare an Apple phone, we can directly compare with Apple phone itself, or Apple phone can also be compared with top class, top model Samsung phone, but we can't compare with Oppo, Vivo and all, because their quality is different, the Apple quality is different. Correct, right? The brand, grade, specification, everything should be comparable. Only then we'll compare. Clear, right? Then, just to add on one line, all other provisions of Rule 4 would apply to Rule 5 also. That means what? If you get more than one transaction value, if you get what value? More than one transaction value, then what we'll do, my dear friends? We will take lowest of such value. And of course, when we are comparing, we will compare only when they are at same commercial level, and that too substantially same quantity. Take this point, come on. Very, very simple and easy point. Finish off writing. So if the transaction of identical goods is not found, then the transaction value of similar goods is considered. And all other provisions of Rule 4 will apply to Rule 5 also. So whatever are there in Rule 4 will apply for Rule 5 also, my dear friends. Very interesting point actually. So we are done? Done. Let me take you back, my dear friends. Come on. So these are material. And in that, I want you to look at Rule 4 now. First of all, let me discuss with you the definition for what is identical goods and similar goods. I'm looking at page number 101, my dear friends. See that, come on. Identical goods means imported goods which are same. This is the interesting point you have to catch. Which are same in all respects, including physical characteristics, quality and reputation. So characteristics should be same, quality should be same, reputation should be same, quality also should be the same as the goods being valued, except for minor differences in appearance that do not affect value of the goods. Then produced in the country in which the goods being valued were produced. Same country we are looking at, because different countries means policies will change. Or produced by the same person who produced the goods, or where no such goods are available, goods produced by different person. Clear, right? Then, but shall not include imported goods where engineering, development work, artwork, design work, plan, sketch undertaken in India. They're done in India, it's an Indian design, were completed directly or indirectly by the buyer on these imported goods, either free of charge or at reduced cost, for use in connection with production and sale for export of this imported goods. So please don't compare with those goods, but please don't compare with those goods where engineering work, development work, art work, design work is completely done in India. Clear, right? Were undertaken in India, were completed directly, indirectly by buyer on these imported goods free of charge or at reduced cost for use in connection with production and sale for export of these imported goods. Clear, right? Good. Now, an interesting point you have to observe is that similar goods, everything is same, but the difference what you will find is that which are although not alike, they are not alike in all respects, but have like characteristics and like components, like materials, which enable them to perform the same function and to be commercially interchangeable, with the goods being valued having regard to quality, reputation, and also existence of trademark. That's all. Getting clarity, friends? Other things are same. This is what is the fundamental definition difference between identical goods and similar goods. Clear, right? Friends, come on. Next. Come on. Now let's look at the story, friends. Look at now rule 4, our material rule 4. Let's just read out once, my dear friends. Come on. If it is not possible to ascertain the transaction value of imported goods as per rule 3, correct, right? Then the value thereof shall be transaction value of the identical goods which are contemporaneous imports, that is nothing but which are sold for export to India and imported at or about same time. Obviously, at the same time we have to see, we should not see 1 year back price or 6 months back price. Next line. Provisionally assessed value not to be taken. It is provisionally assessed, it's not final assessed. However, such transaction of identical goods shall not be the value of such identical goods provisionally assessed. So we look at only those which are finally assessed but not provisionally assessed. Come on. So what are conditions, my dear friends? See now, the transaction of identical goods will be used in determining the value of imported goods only if such identical goods fulfills the following conditions. Clear, right? Come on, what are the conditions given? Number 1, they are in sale at the same commercial level. One more time I repeat, they are in sale at what level? Same commercial level. And they are in substantially the same quantity as the goods being valued. Already I made you write this point. So what is the first condition, friends? They are in sale at same commercial level. That is something like wholesaler, retailer. Next, they are in substantially the same quantity as the goods being valued. Adjustments when required. When is adjustment required? See now, in case the above condition is not fulfilled, then the transaction value in sale of identical goods that take place under any one of the following 3 circumstances used. That is, sale at same level but in different quantity. Sale at different level but in substantially same quantity, and sale at different level and different quantity, and for that we will do adjustments of price. However, in any of the aforesaid circumstance, adjustments will be made on the basis of demonstrated evidence. This is important. Demonstrated evidence in order to account for difference in prices arising due to sales at different commercial level or in different quantity or both, whether such adjustments leads to an increase or a decrease in the value. An increase or decrease in what, my dear friends? Value. Next point. Adjustment difference in cost and charges referred to in Rule 10. This we'll talk later because I am yet to discuss Rule 10 with you. So leave it. We'll talk about it later. Next. Lowest value to be taken. Very, very, very important point, my dear friends. If more than one transaction of identical goods is found, then the lowest of such value shall be used to determine the value of imported goods. Correct, my dear friends? So if more than one transaction value is found, what we'll do, my dear friends? We will take lowest value. Correct, right? Next, there is one case law called auto stores. Never came in exam, but very interesting case. Now what has happened in this case was, one person imported auto parts which were duplicate, unbranded, cheap auto parts, and assessing officer, that is a proper officer, he has compared that with the branded parts. How can you compare the price of an unbranded product with a branded product, my dear friends? That's not correct. That's why I told you, in order to compare, they must definitely be comparable. See now, assessee imported various auto parts, most of which were unbranded and duplicate, and were imported from China. Department rejected the value on the ground of heavy undervaluation and determined value on the basis of retail sale price of well-known brands. Well-known brands as declared by authorized service center. And what they have held is that unbranded or duplicate parts are available at cheaper price and could not be comparable to well-known brands. Obviously, my dear friends, how can we compare a price of unbranded with branded? Hence, the value of unbranded or duplicate goods cannot be enhanced based on the value of branded goods. So, value of unbranded duplicate goods cannot be enhanced based on the value of branded goods. Clear, right? Next, Supreme Court in one case law called Gira Enterprises. What enterprises? Gira Enterprises. They told one good line. That is, again, same like JD Orgochem. It is department responsibility to prove that this value is not correct. See now, can the value of imported goods be increased if department fails to provide evidence? Supreme Court held that mere existence of a alleged computer printout, some printout is there, was not a proof of existence of comparable imports. Even if assumed that such printout exists and content thereof was true, such printout must have been supplied to the appellant and it should have been given a reasonable opportunity to establish that import transactions were not comparable. Thus, in the given case, value of the imported goods could not be enhanced on the basis of value of identical goods, as department was not able to provide evidence of import of identical goods at higher price. Clear, right? So ultimately it's important that department must prove. Such a nice point they told in the law. Clear? Come on, look at rule 5. The same principles as specified in rule 4 are applicable for valuation of similar goods under rule 5. So in rule 5 nothing is there. It only says one line. It is same like rule 4. And what rule 4 talks about? Rule 4 talks about something called identical goods, and rule 5 talks about similar goods. Clear, right? Friends, come on. Very, very interesting and important point, my dear friends. Sir, chalo. Let's not delay. Come on, let's proceed. So friends, if you look at the story now, let me put in paper. Wait 1 second. Now listen friends, we are talking about CVR 2007. Sir, CVR means Customs Valuation Rules. Yeah. And in that very clearly I told you that rule 3 says follow something called transaction value, for which adjustments are given by rule 10 that I am yet to talk with you. Rule 10 I will talk at the end. Don't worry. Then rule 4 says, first of all, before rule 4, there is something called rule 11 as well as rule 12. What does rule 11 say, my dear friends? Rule 11 talks about something called declaration by importer, which says that it is a responsibility of the importer to declare the full and accurate details of the imports made by him. And rule 12 says proper officer may reject the transaction value. Clear, right? And if the transaction value is not ascertainable or the transaction value is rejected, we'll apply something called rule 4. And rule 4 says we will look at the transaction value of identical goods. And rule 5 says if identical goods is not possible, then look at similar goods. And by chance, if we have got more than one transaction value of identical goods, my dear friends, then we'll follow something called transaction value of, if you have got more than one transaction value of identical goods, then what value we'll take is lowest of such value. That is an interesting point there. Sir, right? Come on. Now, an interesting point which I want to tell you is that, so whatever I taught you so far is now rule 4, rule 5. Now some crazy point what we have is, we have something called rule 6, my dear friends, which does not talk anything much. And rule 6 says, if the transaction value cannot be identified, by rule 3, 4, 5, then it says go to rule 7, 8, 9. That's all. Clear, right? So it only says if transaction value is not possible, by virtue of 3, 4, 5, then go to 7, 8, 9. That's it. See now, time pass rule, nothing is there in this. Rule 6, determination of value. One more time I repeat, determination of value, where value cannot be determined under rule 3 to rule 5. See now, if the value of imported goods cannot be determined under provisions of rule 3 to rule 5, then the value should be determined under provisions of rule 7. In rule 7, we have something called deductive value. What is that? I'll tell you. Don't worry. Or where the value cannot be determined under rule 7, then rules 8, that is nothing but computed value, that is considered. However, at the request of whom, sir? Importer. Who can request? Importer can request. However, at the request of the importer and with approval of the proper officer. This line is interesting. At the request of the importer and with the approval of proper officer. At the request of the importer and with approval of the proper officer, the order of application of rules 7 and 8 shall be reversed. Sir, generally these rules are always to be applied sequentially. First rule 3, then rule 4, then rule 5. Like that we'll apply sequentially. No doubt about it. But here what they told is that if rule 3 to 5 is not possible, then first we'll follow 7. Then we'll look at 8. But importer can request the proper officer and proper officer can approve to interchange the order of rule 7 and rule 8. That means first apply rule 8, then apply rule 7. Right, sir? Wonderful. Makes sense. That is the story of rule 6, my dear friends. Right? So now, let's look at the story of rule 7, my dear friends. Now, what does rule 7 talks about? Rule 7 says, you follow something called deductive value. What value, my dear friends? Deductive value. Deductive value means what? Something like this. Listen. Sir, let's say my classic example I'm giving, which I've been giving right from day one of customs, Mr. Mike and Mr. Ram. Mike is in US, Ram is in India. So goods have been received. Correct, my dear friends? Now what is the point now? These goods Ram will resell, right? He will resell that goods to, let's say, one person called Mr. Sham. Ram will resell the goods to Mr. Sham, or let's say the better word I'll write here is, now what is happening here is that the goods are resold that goods to Mr. Sham. Correct, right? So what law is telling is that please take something called a resale price. Resale price of identical goods. Or you can also take resale price of similar goods also. If identical is not possible. If identical is not possible, look at the resale price of similar goods. From that, you reduce your selling expenses, obviously, and you also reduce your normal profit margin. Then the balance what we get is called deductive value. balance what we get is called what value, my dear friends? Deductive value. Some interesting language, my dear friends. Come on. So we are basically arriving at the value. Otherwise, my dear friends, we are in order to ascertain the value between Mike and Ram. What I am saying is that please look at the resale price. From that resale price, you reduce the selling expenses and also reduce the normal profit margin. Then what figure you get is called deductive value. Basis that deductive value, this deductive value will be regarded as value of imported goods. In fact, my dear friends, these methods are something like in income tax, in direct tax syllabus, there is one chapter called transfer pricing. In transfer pricing also, we have got some various methods to calculate arm's length price. In that, one such method is resale price method. This deductive value method is something like resale price method only. Clear, right? Come on. So what is the interesting point here? Now some special point I will discuss with you that is important. Listen. Sir, 1000 quantity imported at a price of, let's say, 600 per piece. We imported what value, my dear friends? 600 per piece. Then resale happened in this manner, my dear friends. First resale what we have done is 100 quantity we sold at 700 per piece. 100 quantity we sold at 700 per piece. Then we sold 450 quantity at a value of 670 per piece. Then again we sold 300 quantity at a value of 700 per piece. Clear, right? Come on, how much quantity is over? 300 plus 450, 550, 850. Clear, right? Done. Come on, see now. Then again 100 quantity is sold at 710 per piece. Then 50 quantity, how much quantity difference? 50 quantity is again sold at a value of, let's say, 730 per piece. So if you observe, we sold at different prices, my dear friends. Come on now. We will look at now different way, all right? Price, quantity. Now 700 price, how much quantity we sold, my dear friends? Totally 100 plus 300, 400 quantity we sold. Then 670 price we sold 450 quantity. 710 price we sold 100 quantity. Then 730 price we sold 50 quantity. Total figure is 1000 quantity. So this is how we resold our 1000 quantity, my dear friends. Obviously, no friends, come on. When we talk about resale price will not be the same. Different quantity might be sold for different price. So what is that you will consider now? Now you don't tell, sir, whatever is least that we will take. No, sir. The least concept was in the case of identical goods or similar goods. There, what special point I told you there was, if more than one transaction value, I repeat one more time, if more than one transaction value of identical goods is found, then we will always take lowest of such value. If more than one transaction value of identical goods is found, we will take lowest of such value, my dear friends. Clear, right? Good. Speak out. Now, in this case, my dear friends, deductive value, what they told is that you see at what price the greatest aggregate quantity is sold. I repeat one more time. Please see at what price the greatest aggregate quantity is sold. That means at what price the highest quantity is sold, my dear friends. You can see very clearly highest quantity is 450. 450 compared to everything. Highest quantity is 450 is sold at a price of 670. That means at 670 price only we sold highest quantity. So what we will consider is, we will consider the value as 670, my dear friends. Otherwise, we will consider the value at which greatest aggregate quantity is sold. So at what price we sold more quantity? Out of the 1000 quantity what we imported, at what price at what price we sold more quantity, that price will be considered. Understanding, friends? So friends, what we are considering is that at what price we sold more quantity, that price is being considered. So if you observe out of all this story, 450 quantity, that is the greatest quantity, is sold at a price of 670, my dear friends. So 670 will be considered. Getting clarity, friends? Now 700 is not considered because at 700 only 400 quantity is sold. But 670, 450 quantity is sold. So highest quantity is sold at a price of 670. So that 670 will be considered. So this is a wonderful story of deductive value, my dear friends, dealt by a brilliant rule called Rule 7. Interesting. Makes sense, right? Come on. Take this into your notes. Write down. Very, very interesting and important, which deals with the concept of Rule 7, deductive value. Interesting methods, friends. These all are important. No games at all. High possibility any question can trigger in the exam. Why should we take a chance? So we are basically trying to find out the value of the imported goods based on the resale price. That is why the method is called as deductive value method. What method we call it? Deductive value method. Finish writing the top part. If you finished, I'll scroll further. So what are we taking there? Resale price of identical or similar goods or the same goods. Same goods is possible. Identical, similar also they can take. Minus selling expenses minus normal profit margin. Then what we get is called deductive value. Next, come on. Take this story. This concept is important. This concept is important because when 1000 quantity we imported, we sold different quantity at different price. When 1000 quantity is imported, after that we sold different quantity at different price. Now when we sold different quantity at different price, what price should be considered? That is important. For that, what did law tell, my dear friends? Law clearly told, please check the price at which greatest aggregate quantity is sold. So the price at which greatest aggregate quantity is sold, that will be considered. Come on, friends, please take it. I'm going to take the price as 670 because out of all the 1000 quantity, if we compare, highest quantity is sold at a price of 670. That is why 670 will be considered. There is a strong logical reason behind what kind of activity we are doing here. And this all is given by Rule 7, which talks about something called deductive value. Interesting. Can I proceed? Please do reply, my dear friends. Yes? Come on, let me move forward. Let me explain you by notes once again. Yeah, because if you just discuss once again, that will be more good. See now, the value determined under Rule 7 only when the following conditions are fulfilled. Obviously, number 1, though the transaction value of imported goods, or identical goods or similar goods is not ascertainable, obviously not ascertainable, but the goods are sold in India after importation. The goods must be resold. Next, sale in India should be in same condition, obviously, because if you do more processing, then there is also some processing cost involved. Sale in India should be in same condition as they are imported. In case neither imported goods nor identical nor similar imported goods are sold in India in the condition as imported, then the goods sold after further processing shall be considered, except where value added by further processing cannot be ascertained separately. If that is the case, then we can't do anything. Then sale should be to an unrelated person, obviously, because we sell to related person, price will become an affected price. So we want it to be sold to an unrelated person. Then sales are made at or about the time at which declaration for determination of value is presented, or at earliest date after importation, but within maximum of, I repeat one more time, but within a maximum of 90 days after import of the goods to be valued. So sales should be made at or about same time or maximum within 90 days. Then method of valuation and computation of deductive value. What we'll do, my dear friends? Come on. Unit price at which imported goods or identical goods or similar goods are sold in what quantity? Greatest aggregate quantity. Meaning of that already explained to you. From that, what will reduce? Commission, selling expenses, general expenses, selling profit, transportation cost, insurance cost, and associated cost within India. Whatever cost is incurred in India, that will reduce. Then customs duty, sales tax, other tax levied in India. And in case where the value is based on unit price after further processing, then we'll also reduce what, my dear friends? Processing cost. Clear, right? Sir? Then finally what we get is called what value? Deductive value. Now, value of goods cleared from 100% EOU to a depot from where sale is effected to DTA. What is DTA? Domestic tariff area. Circular has clarified that value of goods cleared from 100% export oriented unit, actually export unit, you should not sell locally. If you sell locally, then gone, to a depot from where the sales thereof to domestic tariff area is affected through consignment agents will have to be determined by sequential application of Rule 3 to Rule 9. So we'll start with Rule 3, then go to Rule 9. Right? Done. That is the story of Rule 7, my dear friends, which deals with the concept of deductive value. Of course, something interesting and important. Now, tell me guys, what is the answer for Rule 3, my dear friends? Rule 3 says that value shall be transaction value, for which adjustments are to be made as per Rule 10, sir. Rule 3 says transaction value, for which adjustments are made as per Rule 10. Then what does Rule 4 say, my dear friends? Rule 4 says you have to follow something called transaction value of identical goods in case where the basic transaction value is not acceptable. Then Rule 5 says similar goods. Then Rule 6 says if 3, 4, 5 is not possible, then go to 7, then go to 8. But importer can request the proper officer telling that, sir, let's not apply Rule 7 first, we'll apply Rule 8 first, then Rule 7. That is possible. And what is Rule 7 talking about? Deductive value, something like resale price. Correct, right? And resale price, what will take into account? Resale price will actually take into account unit price at which greatest aggregate quantity is sold. From that, we will reduce selling expenses, other transportation cost in India, taxes in India, customs duty in India, and if there is any processing cost incurred, that also will reduce. Then final figure what we get is called deductive value. Then Rule 8 says some crazy method called computed value. This is generally not done, but it's possible only when, first point, Rule 8 is Possible only when exporter and importer are closely related and exporter is willing to share necessary costing data. Come on, my dear friends, an interesting point, sir. What is the language I wrote, my dear friends? First of all, very clearly what I wrote is that Rule 80 is possible only when exporter and importer are closely related and exporter is willing to share necessary costing data, because Rule 8 talks about something called computed value, where in computed value what we actually do is we look at something called exporter's cost plus normal profit margin. Exporter's cost plus normal profit margin, generally not possible at all. Why would exporter share his costing details, my dear friends? That is where one line I told that Rule 80 is possible only when exporter and importer are what, my dear friends? Closely related. That is important. That is possible only when they are closely related. If they are not closely related, it's not possible at all. So Rule 8 is possible. Come on, friends. Rule 8 is possible. Rule 8 is possible only when exporter and importer are closely related. They are closely related and exporter is willing to share necessary costing data. If exporter is not sharing costing data, then gone. This rule is not possible. That is why this rule practically we don't apply at all. Clear, right? Come on, write down. Take it, my dear friends, the story of Rule 8, which is possible only when exporter and importer are closely related and exporter is willing to share necessary costing data. And just to add on, and also he is ready to provide subsequent clarifications if any. Correct, right? Because there is also a possibility where on the costing data, whatever exporter provided, proper officer may ask that this has come how did this cost figure come? How did that cost figure come? Please give clarifications. Like that, proper officer can ask. So that is why this is possible only when exporter and importer are closely related and exporter is willing to share necessary costing data and also he is ready to provide subsequent clarifications. That is important. Make sense? Good. Rule 8, my dear friends, what value? Computed value. Computed value is possible when importer in India and foreign exporter are what, my dear friends? Closely associated and foreign exporter is willing to give necessary costing data and provides subsequent clarifications. Obviously. See now. What we are looking at, production or processing cost of imported goods. The cost or the value of the materials and fabrication or other processing employed in producing the imported goods. All the cost incurred. Then usual profit margin and also general expenses, that is an amount for profit and general expenses equal to that usually reflected in the sales of the goods of the same class or kind as the goods being valued, which are made by producers in the country of exportation for export to India. I repeat one more time, friends. We are going to add what, my dear friends? Amount for profit and general expenses equal to that usually reflected in sales of the goods of the same class or kind as the goods being valued, which are made by the producers in the country of exportation. So in that foreign country, generally what expenses they incur, that will take into account. Then finally, the cost of transport, insurance, loading, unloading, handling, all that are there. That will talk in detail in Rule 10, don't worry, there I'll talk with you in detail. That's it. This is the story of Rule 8, my dear friends, computed value. And finally, one last method is given by the law, that is Rule 9, which talks about a residual method. And Rule 9 is possible, and Rule 9 will apply only when everything fails. And Rule 9 is something like best judgment. Best judgment is the last option. We know that, right? Come on, see now. So Rule 9 talks about what, my dear friends? Residual method of valuation. So now look at Rule 9. Rule 9 is something like residual method. It is like just like a best judgment assessment. So please look at that. According to this method, my dear friends, value is to be determined using reasonable means consistent with the general principles and also the general provisions of these rules and section 14 and also the data available. Now see next line. However, the value so determined shall not exceed, one more time I repeat, shall not exceed the price at which such or like goods are ordinarily sold. Don't try to increase the price. Or offered for sale at delivery at the time and place of importation. In the course of international trade, when the seller and the buyer or the buyer has no interest in the business of other, that means what? They are not related persons. And price is what, my dear friends? Price is the sole consideration for the sale or offer for sale. Friends, getting clarity, right? Now see. So will they determine, my dear friends? They do not give any specific method how to determine. It's something like best judgment. So based on whatever data is available, basis that they'll decide the transaction value. See now. The following shall not be considered in determining value under this method. What will not be considered? See now. Selling price in India of the goods produced in India. So local goods, at what price they are selling locally, how can we use that as a basis for imported goods value? Then system which provides for the acceptance for customs purpose of the higher of the two alternatives. You should not directly tell whichever is higher, I'll take that. That's not correct. Then price of the goods on the domestic market of the country of importation. That means in the foreign country's local price should not be considered, because we are looking at the import price, not the foreign country's local price and not the Indian local price. We are looking only at the import price. Then cost of production other than computed value of identical goods or similar goods as determined in Rule 8. Then price of goods for the export to a country other than India. We want to see the price from foreign country to India, not foreign country to outside India. And minimum customs values, that also should not be considered, telling that as per customs this should be the minimum value. You can't fix something like that arbitrarily. Next, arbitrary or fictitious values, that's not correct. Thus, the value of the imported goods determined in accordance with provisions of Rule 9 should, to the greatest extent possible, be based on previously determined customs values. But a reasonable flexibility in application of such methods would be allowed. So what is the language, my dear friends? It should be based on what? It should be based on previously determined customs values. It should be based on previously determined customs values, but a reasonable flexibility in application of methods is allowed. Now what is the meaning of reasonable flexibility? See that. Identical or similar goods. The requirement of importation of identical or similar goods at or about the same time as the goods being valued may be flexibly interpreted, or the goods produced in a country other than the country of exportation may be taken as identical or similar goods, or customs values of identical similar goods already determined under Rule 7 or Rule 8 could be used. In some other person's case, that value is already determined. That value can be used, my dear friends. Next, deductive method. The requirement that goods must have been sold in the condition as imported could be flexibly interpreted, or 90 days requirement. What requirement? 90 days requirement could be administered flexibly. So the point is very clear that flexibility can be done, and ultimately we will ascertain the value and on the basis of best judgment. That is why it is called as residual method of valuation. What method? Residual method of valuation, dealt by the beautiful rule called rule number 9, my dear friends. Extremely wonderful and important. Clear? Come on. So going back, my dear friends, so rule 9 is something like a residual method, which clearly says when there is no option, we will apply this method called residual method, which clearly says look at what, my dear friends? Best judgment, where whatever data is available, basis that data will determine the value. Of course, one interesting point to be noted is that we might flexibly interpret the other rules and then determine the value, sir. Correct, right? Now see. So when I talk about rule 3, my dear friends, what does rule 3 say? Rule 3 says value should always mean transaction value, which is nothing but price paid or payable when exporter importer are not related and the price is sole consideration. An interesting point to be kept in mind is that for rule 3, adjustments to be made as per rule 10. We are yet to discuss that. Then rule 4 says if transaction value is not acceptable, then look at the value of identical goods. Then rule 5 says similar goods. And one important point to be kept in mind is that if the more than one transaction value of identical goods or similar goods is found, then we will always take lowest of such values. Rule 6 says if 3, 4, 5 is not possible, then look at 7 and then 8. But importer can request the proper officer telling let's not apply 7 and then 8, let's apply 8 and then 7. An importer can accept, proper officer can accept. And what is rule 7, by the way? Rule 7 talks about a method called deductive method, where we are looking at something like resale price. And rule 8 talks about computed value, where we are taking the cost and to that cost we are adding all the general expenses and also the normal profit margin. Then we get our story of what, my dear friends? Computed value. And rule 9, last option, what method? Residual method, something like best judgment. Rule 10, adjustments to transaction value, which I am yet to talk, I will discuss soon. Then rule 11 talks about declaration by importer, and rule 12 talks about rejection by proper officer. Sir, make sense? Good. Taking you back to the story, friends, rule 11 is already over. Rule 12 also I discussed with you already, sir. JD Orgochem case law also I covered. And if you look at valuation of export goods, I'll just take 2 minutes time here because there is nothing involved there. I don't require more than that because concept is absolutely the same. And here also valuation rules 2007 only. And here also they use the word value shall be transaction value. And if it's not possible, they gave some methods called determination of value by comparison or comparative value. What does that mean? Identical or similar goods. Then not possible, directly computed value and residual method. We don't have a method called deductive method. Deductive method is not there because when we are talking about exports, after exporting at what value that person resold, how do we know? I repeat one more time, friends. After a export, if that person resells, how will we know at what value that person resold? That is technically not possible. That is why we don't apply the method called deductive value in exports. We don't apply a method called deductive value in exports. So first is transaction value, then comparison or comparative value. The value of export goods shall be based on transaction value of goods of like kind and quality, being contemporaneous exports, that is exported at or about the same time to other buyers in the same destination country of importation or in its absence, another destination of country of importation. Adjusted for appropriate adjustments. What adjustments they'll do? Difference in dates, difference in levels, difference in quality, difference in freight. Because based on which country you are sending, freight will be different. If you send from India to Europe, the freight cost is different. India to US, the freight cost is different. Then we have a method called computed value, the most popular method, where we'll see cost plus all the expenses plus profit margin. And the board has clarified that while determining value under this rule, PO shall give due consideration to the cost certificate issued by a cost accountant or chartered accountant or government approved for determining the value of export goods. Then finally, residual method, declaration by exporter, rejection of that value. Same like imports, no difference at all. Clear, right? Absolutely no difference at all. That's all, my dear friends. These are the various interesting points what we have got in valuation rules. Of course, I need to discuss with you something very, very important, that is nothing but Rule 10, my dear friends. That will take some sweet time, which will start discussion in the next session. And in next session, I'm going to talk about Rule 10, adjustments to transaction value, and we'll also solve some good number of problems related to Rule 10, my dear friends, which are extremely important. Clear, right? So kindly please revise this once. Please go through very properly so that next session we are ready with learning about Rule 10 and we can happily solve some good number of questions, my dear friends. Clear? Done. Thank you so very much. Balance will take forward in next session. Take care. Bye-bye. And next session, we are going to solve a lot of problems on valuation. No doubt about it. So we'll solve some good number of questions. Get ready, my dear friends. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.